Welcome back to another Hoop Scoop Media Conference preview. And today we are closing out the high major conferences, the five of them that there are this year, with the Big 12 conference. Only five high majors and clearly separating from the rest of college basketball. And yeah, the five is because there is no more Pac-12, at least not this year. There is still a Pac-12 in the future, but yeah, I mean part of the Pac-12 from last year is now in the Big 12, which yeah, Big 12 has been a conference that has really been hit by realignment, having teams leave and join this offseason. So quite the whirlwind for schools. Even had some schools last year join in. Uh, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF joined last year. And this year, four teams from the Pac-12, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah join in. Oklahoma and Texas both depart. So quite the conference realignment. Big 12 has been the center of it. But yeah, what are your opening thoughts on this conference? This is a very good basketball conference, despite not being great at football.
Yeah, so Big 12, SEC, kind of the top two conferences in everybody's eyes this year. I think the top of the Big 12 is better, but the SEC is probably overall deeper. Um,
Hmm.
Talked about the new schools coming in. Arizona should compete right away at the top. Arizona State, Utah, Colorado, probably all down years this year, but
Hmm.
we'll see how that impacts in the future.
Yeah, but the Big 12, they were the first ranked conference in KenPom last year. Houston won the regular season and was the highest ranked team in KenPom at number two in the country, but Iowa State won the conference tournament. The tournament teams from the conference were Houston, Iowa State, Baylor, Texas Tech, BYU, Kansas, Texas, who is no longer in the conference, and TCU, and then Arizona and Colorado. New members in the conference both made it from the Pac-12 last season. So yeah, getting into where the some of the all-conference members from last year and where they are now. From the first team, Jamal Shed for Houston started his pro career. Taman Lipsey is back at Iowa State. Hunter Dickinson is back at Kansas. Kevin McCullough from Kansas, although exhausted his eligibility, as did Dylan Dessou from Texas. On the second team, Ray J. Dennis from Baylor exhausts his eligibility. LJ Cryer is back at Houston. Keyshawn Gilbert is back at Iowa State. Emmanuel Miller, um, I think he went pro. He went pro. I don't know if I think he might have had a year, but either way, not back at TCU. And Max Asmus for Texas exhausted his eligibility. On the third team, Jalen Bridges from Baylor started his pro career. Jacoby Walter from Baylor also started his pro career. Jawan Roberts is back at Houston. Pop Isaacs from Texas Tech transferred to Creighton, but Darian Williams for Texas Tech is back with the Red Raiders. So yeah, getting into the coaching changes. One of them is with a new-ish member of the conference, BYU, who hired Kevin Young after Mark Pope left for Kentucky. Young has really no college experience, but he's well regarded, so I can get with this.
Yeah, and I think you already see the continued upward direction of this program, and I think Young continues to elevate that. Lots of money floating around this program, um, right in the mix for the number one recruit in the class of 2025 and AJ DeBonsa. So
Yes,
I
they're
think I
they're
think the future looks bright under Young, especially if they can continue to land
yeah,
high profile guys.
yes, they're offering him a lot of money based on the reports. And yeah, also with BYU, you kind of have to hire a Mormon coach, and I feel like the if you're not gonna get Mark Madsen, like who else are you gonna get? So Young, very respected in the coaching community coming from the NBA. So considering the limited pool of possible coaches, this was definitely a good one. West Virginia also made a coaching change after Josh Eiler's interim year did not decide to retain him, and Darian DeVries comes in from Drake, where he really won there. So again, another hire that I like. He was probably going to move up to the high major level no matter what this season. So yes, chose West Virginia.
Yeah, I think West Virginia is a good spot for him, and then also get one final year with his son Tucker DeVries. So I think West Virginia could bounce back,
Yes.
and DeVries can make an impact year one.
Yes. Good package deal there. Darren DeVries, an elite coach by himself, but Tucker DeVries is like not that far away from like being an All-American. So that
Yeah,
that
I
definitely
agree
helps when
100%.
you have someone like that. And on the next coaching change, the last coaching change is Steve Lutz coming into Oklahoma State. Mike Boynton was fired after last season. Lutz has been a head coach in D1 for 3 seasons. He has made 3 tournaments. That speaks for itself to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, be a very uphill climb to keep that trend going, but I think
Mhm.
overall it's a positive direction for the program, bringing Lutz in.
Yes, had some pretty successful assistant coaching jobs, and yeah, hasn't missed a tournament yet. This will probably be the year, but we'll see. We will see. He's maybe he'll win the conference tournament. Although I don't think every team from the Big 12 makes the conference tournament, so he'll need to lock in the regular season to get there because there might be on the outside looking in based on what my projections are sitting at right now. But yeah, let's get into our personal conference awards, all conference teams. My player of the year, it is Hunter Dickinson from Kansas. He's been around forever, seemingly. He's been really good forever. Gonna score a lot of points. Really good, big around the rim, can stretch the floor. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's very good.
Yeah, I think Hunter Dickinson is the obvious pick, but I actually went a different route. I went with LJ Cryer at Houston. Jamal Shed gone. Offensive numbers probably go up. I think he's going to be very important. And I mean, Houston's my number one team in the country going into the year. So I have to buy into them, I feel like, and especially Cryer, who should be their leading scorer. So
Yes, my freshman of the year is VJ Edgecombe for Baylor. This was a fairly easy pick. Actually, there's a few different good freshmen, but Edgecombe is going to be like have like a sort of impact like Keontae George, Jacoby Walter had. He is very good and will be very good right away.
yeah, I've got Edgecombe as well. Should come in and be part of kind of a big three for Baylor with Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier.
hmm And then my defense player of the year, I went with Taman Lipsey for Iowa State. Definitely a few different ways you can go. As the conference had the number one and number two defenses last year with Iowa State, Houston. Um, can't really go wrong with Lipsey. Also, like could go with Juwan Robertson. That's a fantastic pick as well. Who did you give the nod to?
Yeah, I went with Roberts front court mate Javier Francis. I
Okay.
think you can go with basically anybody on the Iowa State or Houston rosters.
Yeah.
So
But both teams are just going to be elite on defense. The personnel is there, the coaching is there, and yeah, either way, I'm any player on those two teams is a pretty safe pick to be an elite defender at the very least. But moving to my first team, 5 players I included was my defensive player of the year, Taman Lipsey, Caleb Love for Arizona. Another somewhat controversial player, but a returning All-American, going to get a lot of buckets for sure. I have Tucker DeVries for West Virginia, JT Toppin from Texas Tech, incoming transfer from New Mexico, and my player of the year, Hunter Dickinson from Kansas.
yeah, I've got I think four of the same as you. I've got Taman Lipsey, Caleb Love, LJ Cryer, my player of the year, Tucker DeVries, and Hunter Dickinson.
Yes, and then starting out my second team with your player of the year, LJ Cryer. I have my freshman of the year, VJ Edgecombe. I have another guy that I really like and I'm taking a shot on, and that is Anthony DeLorso from Arizona. I'm all in on him. I don't know even know if he'll start, but I think he's really gonna be good if he gets the opportunity. I have Coleman Hawkins for Kansas State and rounding it out with the Baylor incoming transfer in Norchad Omier.
Yeah, Delorso. a guy I ended up just leaving off after making some late changes. I was all in this offseason too, and then like I don't know, I just kind of got scared watching the exhibitions. Wasn't really what I wanted. Didn't have like quite the minutes either. So I don't know. A guy I still am really monitoring for Arizona, especially heading into next year, has 2 years of eligibility left. But second team for me went with Jeremy Roach at Baylor, Keyshawn Gilbert at Iowa State, JT Toppin, Texas Tech, Norchad Omier at Baylor, and Jawan Roberts at Houston.
All right, and in my third team, I have Keyshawn Gilbert from Iowa State, AJ Storr, incoming Kansas transfer from Wisconsin, Dan Skillings Jr. from Cincinnati, Darian Williams from Texas Tech, and rounding it out with Jawan Roberts from Houston.
I went with AJ Storr at Kansas, and then a guy from a bunch of teams in the middle of my conference: Darius Johnson, UCF, Dallin Hall, BYU, Dan Skillings Jr., Cincinnati, and Coleman Hawkins at Kansas State.
Yes. Now moving to our all freshman team. Um, Obviously my freshman year, VJ Edgecombe. I also have Yegor Damin, incoming BYU international freshman, very, very highly regarded, and have Cannon Catchings, another BYU guy. I have David Castillo from Kansas State, and rounding it out with Jaden Caintons from Arizona State.
We went 4 for 5 this time around. I've got David Castillo at Kansas State. One difference, I have Jonathan Powell from West Virginia, and then VJ Edgecombe at Baylor, Yegor Demin at BYU, and Jaden Caintons for Arizona State.
Yes. Moving to our breakout players. Uh, First guy has Mo Krivas from Arizona. Really, really showed some flashes when he played last year. Big man inside should really be good this year, I think.
Yeah, nursing kind of a bit of an injury going into the start of the year, but I still think once he comes back, his impact will be very big. Another guy at Arizona, I think, is pegged for a breakout year is Jaden Bradley. Second year over from Alabama, very efficient from the field in his time last year, and now should be the starting point guard or share the starting point guard role with Boswell out of the picture.
Yes, Arizona definitely has a few players. You could also throw someone like KJ Lewis in there. A few guys that will definitely take steps up based on what we saw from them previously. Another guy I have is Jizzle James for Cincinnati. Really was one of the better freshmen in the country last year, and I think Cincinnati will be better as a team this year. I think he should be the starting point guard for them, but even if he's not, he'll still play a solid amount of minutes and ideally will get better based on what we saw at the end of last season.
Yeah, I ended up including 6 guys compared to the 5 that we usually have. I had all 3 of the Arizona guys, Jizzle James, and the next guy on the list for me was Jamiron Keller at Oklahoma State. Coming back, um, one of the 3 returners on that team, played a decent bit as a freshman, and I think has a chance to compete for minutes in that backcourt. Not too sure of how I feel about some of the Oklahoma State transfers, so I think taking a shot at Keller to break out is a
Yes.
good idea for me.
Yeah, my other guys have Ernest Uday Jr. for TCU is like the only returner on the team. So we'll see if the continuity, familiarity with Dixon helps him a little bit to become more of an offensive option as the big man there. I have an in-conference transfer in Myro Little going from Baylor to Utah. I think he's could be a guy that could really break out this year at Utah after not seeing a ton of time at Baylor last season. And closing it out, I have Javon Ruffin for Colorado, but with Colorado's team, I honestly could have gone a number of directions as well. I think Bengot Dak is a guy that's got some high praise recently. Julian Hammond, another guy that could really break out. Someone that team is going to. I went with Ruffin. I believe he was hurt last year, a good amount, but if he's
Yeah,
healthy, he should be pretty solid.
and then my sixth name I guess you already touched on KJ Lewis, but
Yeah.
I also had Mikhail Bridge at Kansas State listed. I liked what I saw in their exhibition match from him, and I think even with a lot of new transfers coming in, I think as a sophomore he has a chance to see a bit bigger of a role. So
Yes, very, very physical player, big bodied forward. So yeah, moving to our top 10 transfers. Number one, I have Tucker DeVries for West Virginia from Drake, following his father.
yeah, I've got DeVries at one as well. My newcomer of the year in the conference.
Yes. And at two, I have JT Toppin for Texas Tech, was outstanding as a freshman at New Mexico.
I've got Toppin at five. Second is where I went with Norchad Omier at Baylor, coming over from Miami.
And at three, I have Omier.
And then three is where I have his teammate Jeremy Roach.
I wrote at seven. Four is where I had Coleman Hawkins, incoming Kansas State transfer from Illinois.
Or okay, four is where I had Toppin, and then fifth for me was AJ Store.
All right, then I had Delorso at five.
And then six is where I had Coleman
Yeah,
Hawkins
and I had AJ Store at six, Jeremy Roach at seven.
and Delorso I had at seven.
It's number eight. I'm sort of an in-conference guy, Dylan Mitchell for Cincinnati, coming from Texas. He played in the Big 12 last year. Would not have played in the Big 12 had you say it, Texas, but really athletic. Sort of limited, but he's a very solid player in what he does.
Yeah, I've got Mitchell at eight as well. Good athlete, and I
Yes.
think helps Cincinnati's front court out,
For
help
sure.
them take that next step.
Yep. Number nine, I have Doug McDaniel for Kansas State, point guard coming from Michigan. Should put up a decent amount of points. Yeah.
Yeah, McDaniel's a guy just left off. There's a lot of talented transfers in this conference. Nine, I went with UCF transfer Keyshawn Hall, coming over from George Mason, and I think his numbers should be pretty big there.
Yes. Very good player. We'll see with UCF. We'll
Yeah,
see about
definitely
UCF, but
a wide range of possibilities for UCF
yes.
this
And number
season.
10, I have Rylan Griffin coming into Kansas from Alabama. Solid wing player there.
Number 10, I went with Elijah Hawkins. Still not over the fact that he told Minnesota he was coming back just to enter the portal a week
Hey,
later.
you literally got
But
Patterson off that same thing.
yeah, exactly. But I think Hawkins in that Texas Tech, that's very important for them. Um, Obviously an insane playmaker, averaged like eight
Hmm.
assists last year at Minnesota, and there's a lot of scores on the wing. We talked about JT Toppin already at Texas Tech, so that's a team I'm really high on going into this season, and so I figured I had to throw Hawkins in this list as well.
Hmm. Yep, but now moving into our individual conference team reviews and projections based on standings from last year, going from worst to first. But we're gonna start out with the newcomers in the conference. We will start out with Colorado. Let's open it up with Colorado in their first year back in the Big 12. I believe they were in the conference previously. I have Tad Boyle and the Buffaloes in 14th.
I've got them in last or 16th in the new expanded Big 12.
I could see. I kind of think they'll overachieve. Like, I mean, if overachieving is 14th and whatever, but like,
Yeah, I don't I don't know. There's been like small bits of hype coming out of there. Not like tournament hype, but just like not last hype. But I'm
yeah.
still just like you lost three NBA players and Tristan Da Silva, KJ Simpson, Cody Williams, and then yeah, six of your top seven guys out the door. So a tough
Yeah,
rebuild, and I'm not like too in on any of these transfers. I like Trevor Baskin coming from Colorado
I
Mesa,
think
but
I think Elijah Malone might be pretty good. He's a huge body. Maybe. won't put up the stats he did at NAI, but he was the player of the year in the NAI, and yeah, he's huge. Should be a force down low, and yeah, Baskin, um, pretty talented wing forward, athletic, can do a little bit of everything. Um, then they also had Andrei Yakimovsky from Washington State, solid player. Not crazy, but I think you'll get some solid minutes out of him for sure. I have heard a ton of hype about Bengot Dak this offseason. He's
Yeah.
really athletic, was a late added to the team last year. I definitely see the vision for him breaking out.
Yeah, there's the Bang Dak breakout, and then I something's gotta give in this backcourt. Somebody needs to kind of become a star, whether it's Julian Hammond coming back, um, RJ Smith and Javon Ruffin both saw limited minutes last year, but that's where my concern is for this team. Um, really talented guard play after losing KJ Simpson, so we'll see what
Yes.
happens.
Ruffin did average like 6 points as a freshman before he was pretty much hurt, and didn't give as much of an impact last year. Um, I don't remember if Hammond was hurt as well. I feel like he might have been. Um, let's see, did he miss
Yeah,
any
I'm not sure, I guess.
games? Played 20. Yeah, he got hurt like last month of the year, and didn't play. So I don't know what his status is, but we'll see. Also some intriguing freshmen: Andrew Crawford, Sebastian Ranchik, Felix Kosaris. I guess we'll see if any of them make an impact. A St. Jope, pretty another pretty raw freshman that could rising sophomore that could pop in year two. The roster doesn't look great, but I feel like Tad Boyle is gonna cook something up to some extent that like won't have them as bad as we might think.
Yeah, I mean, Tad Boyle being the coach is where I kind of feel disrespectful putting them in last, but yeah, I'm just not really in on this roster, so I think last is the safest place for me to put them.
Yes. Next up, continuing the theme of the new teams in the conference, shifting to Arizona State. That's a team I have lots in the conference.
After they lost by 56 to Duke, I maybe should have dropped them to last. I guess I've got them in 13th.
It's not like an untalented team. This team is like decently talented. Um, got a lot of interesting pieces, but I don't see it. Like on paper, this team blows away Colorado, but well, first I don't like
The
to
fit
fit
is
under
weird.
anyone, but to fit under Bobby Hurley. Bobby Hurley does not even coach offense. He just has them run out. They play hard in defense, but I don't know if some of these guys are going to play hard in defense on this team. Jaden Cainton's is like 16 or 17 or really young. Um, Sanon's also a reclass. Adam Miller hasn't been good since his freshman year at Illinois. I just don't see it.
Yeah, you've got a lot of guys who are gonna want to score in my eyes, and
Yeah, and
like
not
you
the
said,
coach for
Hurley
yes.
doesn't really have control of his offense. I feel like just from watching Arizona State games, but
Yes,
I don't.
it's
Yeah,
it's very bad. It's a lot of AAU offense, and this is a team that you probably don't want to have that with, because the pieces are there to an extent. BJ Freeman's a guy I really like. Austin Mason's okay. I'm not as big of a fan of him. I mean, he's fine. He would be a solid at elsewhere potentially. Bashir Jihad is fine. Maybe Austin Nunez, the Marfo transfer, will see something out of him. Didn't do much at Ole Miss, but it's a guy I do like generally. I don't. Yeah, this isn't. It's not gonna work
yeah,
out. If not that I'm buying too much into like exhibitions, but they got worked badly by
yeah,
Duke.
and I feel like Bobby Hurley would be one of those coaches I would put like hot seat, like first to get fired this season. But I don't know, with the amount of money they just poured in this offseason, I feel like the NIL packages had to have been nice to land three of the top mid-major scorers, two top 25 freshmen. So I don't know if they would want to give up on him that early, but I definitely think a bad year that the warning signs will be there for Bobby Hurley come
Yeah.
February, March.
This isn't going to be a very good team, I don't think. We'll see though. They could like win a few games like randomly just because of talent, but this is not going to actually work. Next team up though, gonna go to Arizona. The one incoming team is going to be really good. I have them at fifth, but still like kind of a top 10 team. So it's kind of
Yeah,
misleading their conference ranking, but they're really good.
I've got Arizona fourth as well. Right around the top 10. I'm forgetting where I placed them in my top on at eighth. So yeah,
Yes.
inside the top 10. A very talented roster led by the final Pac-12 Player of the Year as we knew it, um, in Caleb Love. So
Yes. He definitely gets a fair amount of hate and some that's deserved, but at the same time, he's still a returning All-American. Might lose like them in the first round of the tournament going like over 20 from three, but he's still a very good player to have back, I think.
yeah, again, I mean, I don't want to like foreshadow the NCAA tournament too much, but like it's another one of those Arizona teams where I like would get nervous of them losing early on once again. So
Yes, but yeah, I really like Jaden Bradley and KJ Lewis, two very productive players. Lewis, elite glue guy. Bradley, was really playing good towards the end of last year. Krivas, another breakout sophomore that I mentioned, really skilled inside, huge guy, 7'2". Um, Trey Townsend should play a solid role. I don't know how I love him at the high major level, but he was like really good in all of their Oakland's high major games last year. So like maybe he won't be
yeah,
that bad.
I think he went for 30 in the NC State game, if I'm recalling right. And then obviously the big game in the Horizon League chip to send them to the tournament. So I do think he's a guy that gets up for big games, and I think he'll translate solidly. Delorso, a guy we both like coming over from Campbell, averaged nearly 20 a game there.
Yes.
Just from watching the exhibitions, I feel like physically he's maybe not there to like dominate the Big 12 at the level I would hope, but I think over time he'll get more comfortable in the league, and I do
Yes.
I do like him, especially next going into next season. But
Yes.
another guy to monitor, a guy who could score 20 on a given night.
Yes. I'm still buying into him. Very skilled shot creator, can basically score all levels. Yeah, we'll see with physicality, but he's a little wiry for the conference potentially, but I think he's still very skilled. And yeah, definitely not selling his stock just yet. Tobey Waka, the other transfer coming in that will play significant minutes. Really physical guy. Should be a solid center duo with Krivas, even though Waka is considerably shorter. Makes up with that with his physicality. Elite rebounder. Great glue piece.
Yeah, I think the front court's really set. Emmanuel
Hmm.
Stefan, top 100 freshman coming in. Henry Visar coming off a redshirt year. I think both of those guys kind of solidify the
Yes.
front court. I don't think you have to worry about foul trouble at all. Carter Bryant,
Yes.
that's a
Although
name I
Waka
like
might
as a
foul
freshman.
like 5 times in 2 minutes, but they have these guys behind them for when that'll
Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
really like this team. It feels weird to put them at like fifth in the conference. You have them at fourth, but like they're very good. Tommy Lloyd's a
Yeah.
very good coach. Um, yeah. Next up is going to be Utah, the final addition to the conference. I have the Utes at 13th, down there
I've
with some of those other schools.
I've got Utah in 15th. So just above their rivals, Colorado.
Yep. I love Craig Smith, but this
I
this roster is not that good.
I'm on Craig Smith. I mean, last year injuries hurt them, but I still think that it was a talented enough roster to make the NCAA tournament. In all honesty, I know the injuries did play a factor, but uh,
Probably.
Miro Little, the guy coming over from Baylor, you had him on your breakout list. That's a name I like. Um, Showed flashes during his freshman season at Baylor, so I think that's a guy where throughout the year could elevate this team.
Yes. I don't really like Mongolian Mike.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's like a
He's just
Big
like,
12
yeah, he's just like
level
kind of a
player.
weird player. Like he's not like he's one of those guys where like the idea of him is really good, but he's like not actually good in real life.
Yeah,
But
it'd be a guy I'd be more comfortable in as like my seventh or eighth guy in the Big 12 rather
yeah,
than I don't
he
know,
still he
maybe a
still has intrigue though. So maybe not someone I'm totally selling, but I'm not in on him by any means. Same with Ezra Azar, not really in on him, but we'll see.
yeah.
Gabe Madsen back though, he was really good last year. Got his brother Mason Madsen in reunited after playing at Cincinnati together a while ago. Um, Keanu Dawes from Rice, I do kind of like. Really athletic guy coming in. Still has 3 years left, even though he didn't put up crazy numbers as a freshman. Someone I'm still buying. Zach Keller, another buy low guy from Wake Forest. I don't know.
Yeah,
They
that
have
I
pieces, but
besides little, I'm not too intrigued on anything. Like Gabe Madsen is a very good shooter, like can create his own shot, but I don't think he's like a number one option type of guy. And
yeah,
I
yeah, I
think
would
he's kind
agree
of
with that.
forced to be that on this team.
Yeah, Lawson Lovering, another guy back. Decent big man. Hunter Erickson, also another returner. I don't know. I think Craig Smith's probably going to elevate them to not get last at least, but we'll see. Now though, going back to the standings last year, working up from the teams last year from worst to first, besides Texas and Oklahoma because they are no longer in the conference, but starting with West Virginia, 4-14 last year, only won 9 games on the season. Year one of the Darian DeVries era, I have them in 10th.
I've got West Virginia finishing 10th as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of like growing on this team looking at them recently. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know what your thoughts are.
there's some like weird pieces I feel like, but Tucker DeVries uh, should be a top five player in this
I
conference
mean,
like that.
he is a legitimate star. Like he is very good. Can create his own
That alone,
shot. Can do like anything basically.
and
Um,
then Javon Small, was he an all league guard last year in the
I
conference?
don't believe he was all league, but he was like really good on Oklahoma State. Like I feel like
Yeah,
he's kind of underrated last year because how bad Oklahoma State was. He was actually really good. Um,
15, 5 and 4, affects things on both sides of the ball. So I really like that duo. And then there's some intriguing young pieces in my eyes. Sincere Harris and Amani Hansberry coming
I
over
like
from
Hansberry.
Illinois.
I like
Yeah,
Hansberry. I think he might end up starting at the five. Kind of gives that like Darnell Brody type player that DeVries has been working with at Drake for a few years. A little bit smaller, but same like pretty physical. Not like a huge shot blocker, but I'm
I,
kind of getting those vibes from him a little bit. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
yeah, I see the comparison. I didn't like think about it like that beforehand, but I do like that. Um, Toby Okani also coming from the
Elite
Missouri
defender,
Valley at UIC. Yeah,
3.5 stocks per game, so gets after on
yeah,
defense. Don't really want the ball in his hands offensively though. He's had some big games, but overall, as long as he can be like a complimentary player, he's just like does some stupid things offensively, takes bad shots, but
and I think you lock him into a team with Small and DeVries,
mm-hmm.
take a larger step back. Joe Yesufu, maybe a name to keep an eye on. His best seasons were under DeVries at
Yes.
Drake in like
He's old too.
2021. So yeah, that's a guy 6-2-2 at Washington State last year. Didn't quite have the impact people thought he would have at the high major level, but maybe back with his former
Yeah.
coach,
He
he
was
can
hurt though.
kind of
He barely
elevate some
played
of that.
last year.
Yeah, and I believe at Kansas it was the same thing too.
Yeah, Kansas. That was a bad decision going to
Dumb
Kansas.
transfer,
But
yeah.
I actually do like Jaden Stone, despite like how bad Detroit was. I think Jaden Stone is like legitimately good offensively. Sincere Harris, elite defensively. So Eduardo Andre, the other transfer brought in, big man from Fresno State, impactful defensively. Hopefully he doesn't need to do much offensively, but
Yeah, and then Jonathan Powell I had on my all freshman team. I think he's another guy that can impact at the 2 and the 3 for them. Um, High potential guy, and I think his role will only grow as the season goes on.
yes. Yeah, maybe Offrey Nave makes a little bit of a breakout, the only returning player on the team that really played last year. So yeah, like I'm kind of growing on this team. DeVries is a star. They have some really good defenders, have some intriguing breakouts. I'm kind of buying them.
Yeah, this is a team I like want to sneak into the tournament, but you're gonna have like
Yeah.
10 games against top 15 teams, so
They
it's
have to
like
they
I
have to
don't know.
take care of everyone worse than them and win a few games against other teams. And if
Yeah,
that
it's
happens, maybe,
I mean,
maybe.
this could be like a 18 and 14 team that like I don't know, gets an 11 seed playing match. We'll see what happens, but
Yes. Next team up though, Oklahoma State, 4-14 in conference play, made the coaching change. I have them at second to last, right in front of Arizona State and right behind Colorado at 15.
yeah, we've got the same bottom four, just kind of different orders. I've got Oklahoma State at 14th.
I like Lutz. I
Or yeah.
I don't really like the transfers, if I'm being completely honest here. Do you like any of these guys?
Um, not the most, not at like a high major level. That's kind of why I was more in on Jamiron Keller. Putting them 14th was more just like belief in Lutz.
Mm,
I don't know. Khalil Brantley can maybe be a solid piece. Devo
mm.
Davis isn't really what he
He's
was at
been
Arkansas 2 years
good.
ago.
Yeah, if he can get back there. I don't love Brantley. Arturo Dean, I think, is better than Brantley. Elite on-ball defender, average almost like 3.5 steals per game last year. Really, really gets after it on that end. Yeah, Keller could break out as a sophomore. Bryce Thompson's back. I liked him like 4 years ago. I don't really like him anymore, but we'll see. Better offensive
Yeah.
coach, you would think.
Thompson kind of is what he is in my eyes at this point.
Yeah, I used to really like him, but he's kind of hasn't gotten better for a few years. Abu Usman, big man side, Marcellus Avery from UCF, he's all right. And they took Brandon Newman is a little intriguing. No, is familiar with Fletch, familiar with the system. Coming over from Western Kentucky, played at Purdue, was decent at Purdue a few years ago. So, and then they got some like random bigs, Robert Jennings and Pat Swemnick.
Yeah, all four of the bigs I'm not like
Yeah,
insane on Avery, Usman, Jennings, and Sumnick, but I don't know. You put all four of them together, they probably give you 40 minutes at each spot. Tyler Caron,
he
a
can
bit
shoot it.
different. Yeah,
He can
he's
shoot
a
it.
bit different from the
I
rest of
I
those
liked
guys.
his film. He's really looks good in film, but he also averaged like not great stats on D2. But he can shoot it though. I think he'll play Loki. Like he's like their only like wing forward on the bench.
Yeah.
And yeah. We'll see though. I don't like this team, but I like Lutz, so enough to keep him out of last, but it'll take a few years. I would think.
Yeah.
But all these guys are old too, so hopefully you can just like get better guys in next year. At least the starters are old. Um, we'll see. Next up though is going to be UCF 7-11 in conference play, 3 games ahead of second to last in conference. So definitely not a terrible team last year, but I have them at 12th this year.
I've got UCF in 12th as well.
Yeah, this is we need some like documentaries on this team because they might like blow up internally.
Yeah, I just
This
need
is
like a full season long documentary, every practice, like every team meal, every team meeting. Yeah.
this is bad. This Jalen
I
Sellers,
mean,
if
but
he's
like,
not healthy too, I don't know what his status is. I know he got hurt in their um
yeah,
exhibition game against Florida Gulf Coast, but I don't know. It looked like it was like he pulled something rather than like he broke his leg or anything, but I'm gonna check if
yeah.
there's any updates. I haven't seen anything though.
At first, I feel like it was like tweaked something in his back. It was
He
like
also
the
got
original,
carted
like,
off, so it could have been bad.
okay. Yeah. I just remember seeing like the clip of it basically. But
Yes.
I do think if Sellers is healthy, Darius Johnson coming back as well, an all conference guy for me. Like
Hmm.
that's a good start, but then all of these ads are just really weird. Dior
Yeah,
Johnson from JUCO, like Mikey
he's
Williams,
good, but
JJ
like he
Taylor.
also like these guys are good. Like Keyshawn was good, but like he was didn't really end the best terms of George Mason. Kind of like already went into the portal, so it's like didn't like play the past last few games. Didn't Benny Williams like break a bunch of equipment somewhere at
Yeah,
Syracuse?
I I think he left the team early, I believe
Oh, he
too.
got kicked off the team early.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
But I
and
think
then
he
yeah,
like broke a bunch of equipment. Jordan
Mikey
Ivy
Williams
Curry,
speaks for itself.
yeah. Jordan Ivy Curry
Jordan
is
Ivy
like
Curry.
he did
Yeah,
get
you go
arrested
ahead.
this offseason. It was like something pretty minor, but he's also like I don't know. I don't think he's a winning player. Mikey obviously has had some legal trouble, and JJ Taylor just like isn't good. Dior like had some
Yeah,
it's
same.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Definitely, just yeah, a weird prototype for recruits that it seems like Dawkins went after this offseason.
Hey, I mean if you're gonna get like a few of these guys, might as well go all in. Should have taken Arterio Morris while they were at it. Might as well. I mean, like
I
what's the
guess so.
backlash you can even they should have taken it. They should have 100% taken him. Like what's the backlash you can get at that point? You already have like 5 guys and that are like serious
Yeah.
legal trouble, serious team cancers. So like my just
I,
what's
I mean,
one more?
I hoped he added like 6 counselors to like the team staff, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
It'll be it'll be something to keep an eye on. They open the season hosting Texas A&M. That's probably must watch TV on opening night. So
Yes. I'm intrigued by Mustafa TM though. Reclass freshman, but really highly ranked recruit. Probably will be the starting center for them. I believe he started in their exhibition games. This team is talented. Like if they put it all together, they're going to be good, but they're not going to put it all together. So they're probably going to find themselves in the NIT. Um,
yeah, I don't see a way where this team brings it all together. In all honesty.
no, there's no chance. Next up though, Cincinnati also went 7-11 in conference play last year. I have the Bearcats moving up to 6, right behind like the tier of 5.
Yeah, I've got somebody breaking into the tier 5 that I know you like, but I have
Yeah.
Cincinnati 7th, still a top 25 team. Um, yeah, Jizzle James already talked about him, breakout player. Um, they bring a lot back from last year on a team that was probably already had enough talent to make the big dance or at least get close. Day Day Thomas, Dan Skillings Jr., Seamus Lukosius, Aziz Bandago, CJ Frederick, I think is healthy again.
Yeah.
So that's a solid core of six returners right there,
Yeah,
and also adding in.
I really like this team. I think it's definitely a tournament team. I also think Wes Miller's kind of overhated. Like Cincinnati has gotten way better every year he's been there. And like they were in a bad spot because of the John Brown Brannon ideal he was kind of walking into. He was great at UNC Greensboro. I think this is like the year like he really breaks through.
Yeah, I can see it. Like, I mean, I feel like it almost has to be a tournament team.
Yeah, I agree,
Like,
but I
and
think it
that's
will
been the
be.
knock so far.
Hmm.
So,
But yeah, I think there's like a lot of injury with all these players. Like Skilling is playing really good to end of last year. Lukosius is a really good shooter. Good size for a wing. Got a defensive ad with Mitchell. Yeah, really athletic. Badego, elite defender, elite rim protector, coming back for year two. Didn't have a full year last year due to transfer things. Jizzle James gonna break out as a sophomore. And then yeah, Connor Hickman, Aronson Page, two solid ads. Hickman really good shooter from Bradley. And then Page should help with the front court. Coming over as a rising sophomore from USC. And if Frederick's healthy, he's a good shooter. There's a lot to like and some intriguing young talent as well.
yeah.
There's a
Tyler
lot to
Betsy,
like.
Tyler Betsy, Tyler McKinley, two freshmen, good athletic forwards. Not too sure how they play themselves into the rotation, but I think they're solid enough to where they can make an impact when called upon. So I think it's a team that goes pretty deep, and the top end talent is there overall. Not like a clear cut number one guy, and unless maybe we
I
think
think
Jizzle James becomes that.
Skillings,
I, I don't know. He's more of like a I don't see him as like a true number one scoring option. I guess like can drive, can attack, but it's like can't really
he was playing really good
create
to
his
end
own
of
shot
last year
from
though.
outside. I'm
Yeah,
okay with it being like six really solid scoring options. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I think that's the one thing that maybe like knocks them down
potentially.
to seventh in my eyes.
Yep. Next up, Kansas State 8-10 in conference play last year. I have them sitting right behind Cincinnati at eighth in the conference.
Yeah, I've got Cincinnati eighth, or sorry, Kansas State eighth as well, right behind Cincinnati.
Yes. They they spent a lot of money in the portal to be projected eighth in conference. But like,
Yeah, but it's still like a solid like top 30, 35 team in my eyes.
yeah. I just like don't know what I think about it because like they probably spent more money in the portal than anyone else in the country, but like I just like don't know like what like the donors are gonna react after they're like still gonna be good, but like maybe top 25, but like still like seventh, sixth, seventh, eighth in the conference.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's just weird. That's the way it is in the age of realignment, like these 16, 18 team mega conferences. Um, Doug McDaniel and Coleman Hawkins, the two guys where the bulk of the money went to. I like
Yes.
both of
Oh,
them, but
Onyenso and
like,
Accor got a lot of money too. That's sure.
yeah, I like
They got a lot of
I,
money.
f- I feel like the fit is very weird. Like
Yeah.
Onyenso, Hawkins, David Engasan, Korokor,
Chore. Yeah.
Achor, yeah.
We'll see. Those are all very good players though. Onyenso definitely more defensively focused. Hawkins kind of can do a little bit of everything around the court. Chore also pretty talented in a variety of areas. Gassan's solid. This is yeah, definitely an interesting portal class. I think Doug McDaniel's gonna have a big year scoring the ball. Um, how Hazen can really shoot it.
Yeah, Housen's a guy that looked better than I thought he would. Had shot it really well in their exhibition. I think
He can
CJ,
really shoot it.
yeah, and yeah, played for Kyle Neptune last year. Now he gets Jerome Tang, so could
Yes.
see a big increase from him. CJ Jones is a guy that I think will actually be more important than like the stats would say. I think he takes a lot of pressure off of Doug McDaniel as like a creator, another ball handler.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they'll see the floor together, but I do like that option with CJ Jones
Yeah.
coming in from UIC.
I definitely see division with CJ Jones, even though he's not like wasn't that good last year on a pretty bad UIC team. Like I think he translates up like pretty well. He's athletic, he can pass, he has good size for like a guard, so and I mean for former high major commit, I believe he was committed to Missouri at one point before ending up at UIC. Max Jones, another guard transferring from Cal State Fullerton. Maybe they get something in year two out of Bay Follow, I believe was a McDonald's All-American. So some upside there. We'll see if it hits, but I mean,
And
yeah, I
then
think this is a tournament team.
yeah, Engasan and Mikhail Bridge, two guys return or Taj Manning, the three guys returning, all just I don't know, solid forwards. Kind of should be overshadowed this year with all the incoming talent, but will
Yes.
all
Castillo, I
likely
think
be a part of the rotation.
can definitely break in the rotation as well. Maybe starting lineup, but we'll see how there's so many things that this team can start. Like
I
they have like
I like
they can do
Castillo, but yeah,
anything.
Castillo and McDaniel, I think that's a hard duo to play together.
We'll see.
That's why I do like CJ Jones.
Yeah. They can run like anything out in the court. They have I would not be surprised by anything. Next team up though, TCU 9-9 in conference play last year. I have the Horned Frogs at 11th this year.
Yeah, I've got TCU in 11th as well.
Yeah, you see they beat Arkansas in the scrimmage like yesterday.
Actually, did not.
I didn't
I was
watch
listening
it at
to
all, but
a three man weave podcast, and I thought I heard them say something about an Arkansas scrimmage, I guess, but I wasn't like locked
yes,
in. I had it on in the background, so
apparently TCU won. I didn't watch any of that, so I guess I wouldn't know, but I don't know what
I
I
mean
think
that's
about the
that itself
transfer
is a reason
class.
for intrigue, even if you're not like buying into exhibition results too much.
Yeah.
Uda, the only guy back, and then the transfer class. Yeah, it's I don't know. I question putting them all together, but
Yeah, like Frankie Collins is solid point guard. You kind of know what you're getting from him. Good in defense. No Reynolds was amazing at Green Bay. We'll see at the high major level. Trezarian White, I don't love at the high major level, but he was really good at Wilmington. Brendan Wenzel should be a good floor spacer. Rashawn Alette, really good at Old Dominion as a freshman, but had some issues. RJ Jones, the other transfer, coming in from K-State where he didn't play that much, but was pretty highly regarded. And they have a ton of freshmen that few redshirts. We'll see if they'll crack the rotation as well.
yeah. Um, just going back to White, like only 6'6", but like last year it felt like he was like I don't know, kind of imposed his will on like a lot of the smaller guys he matched up against in the CAA. Obviously had a big game against Kentucky, but I don't know if he provides like a
I'm not
consistent
really
matchup
sold on
nightmare.
him. I'm not really sold on
Yeah.
him at this level. Not really sold on Reynolds, but I still like Reynolds. I don't know. I don't love this team. But
I
Jamie
do
Dixon's a good coach.
I do like the upside of Vashawn Alette for like the next three
Yeah.
years, but I forget what happened at Old Dominion. He left the team like
Yeah.
halfway through, but I don't remember if his left kicked off or just a
Not
foggy
really
line
sure.
somewhere in between. But
Yeah. We'll see. Definitely some intrigue here. Dixon's a good coach. Probably seems like more of an NIT team to me, but we'll see. Next up is going to be Kansas 10-8 in conference play last year. I have the Jayhawks at third this year.
I've got Kansas finishing second.
I yeah. They're number one preseason. I don't know if I see that. Um, I'm a little lower on some of their guys and
Yeah. I mean,
most.
the more I look at it, the more I don't want to buy in this team. I'd rather like buy into others. You still got, I don't know, a lot of experienced players. KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson, DeJuan Harris, all back for a fourth or fifth season. Like that's a
DeJuan
good
Harris is
core.
DeJuan Harris is fine, but he is incredibly overrated by some people. Incredibly.
Yeah. I mean, no shots fired to field is 68, but he was listed as like a top 20 player,
He is not a
which
top 20
is
player in the Big
mind-boggling
12.
to me.
He is not even, I don't think, he's
I,
not even like close to a top 20 player in the Big 12.
I don't think I considered him like I don't know, the all conference teams. I'll like take a handful of guys from each team that I like and then end up with a list of 30 or so and cut it down. But I don't know.
He's fine. Like
I
he's a
like his
good glue
impact,
guy.
but
He's a
yeah,
he's a good defender. He's a good connective piece, but like doesn't do anything. Like he doesn't really look to score. Like can make an open three here and there. Good passer, but like also has had like a 20% or higher turnover rate every single season. I don't know. He's not that great, but he's good for what he is. AJ Shore, I think is kind of overrated as well. Even though I had him in my all conference team. Doesn't really do anything defensively. Not overly efficient offensively, but he is like a number one type of guy, so good. I
yeah,
mean,
I think the scoring has to be there from
yeah.
Store.
I like Zeke
Griffin, a
Mayo.
guy I like. Mayo, I probably like even more, I guess, coming from South Dakota State. Um,
Yeah.
really efficient three-level scorer in a league that doesn't play any defense, but I still do think he translates up to the Big 12
Yeah.
pretty well.
Shaquille Moore is whatever. We'll see what Floyd Badunga does as a freshman. I like Marquise Passmore. See if Jamari McDowell can do anything in his second year. It's a good team. I don't think they're number one nationally though. Not quite there with them.
Yeah, I think they are in the top tier, but I don't know. Last year kind of fogs me a little after they were like this clear-cut preseason number one, and then it all never really connected. Kevin McCullough being injured obviously hurt a bit, but
Yeah. We'll see though. I mean, yeah, this is still gonna be a very good team, but we'll have to see some things come to life first before I even consider him for like a number one spot. Next up, BYU 10-8 last year. Really had some good analytics and Ken Palm stuff under Mark Pope. Mark Pope is no longer there, but I still had them in a pretty respectable spot at ninth. Probably a
yep.
tournament team in my opinion.
Yeah, I've got BYU ninth as well.
I think it's going to be a pretty good team. I'm kind of another team. I kind of like them a little bit more every time I kind of inspect the roster.
Yeah, you've got a lot of a lot of good returning pieces, a lot of experience. I think it all fits together well, even with the
Hmm.
guys that did leave.
Yeah, I mean, got Hall, Nell back, Richie Saunders back, Fusini Traore back, Dawson Baker back, who I think could be pretty good if he's healthy. I think some people might be sleeping on him, so that's five pretty solid players back. Um, Keba Keita, I really like. I think he's massively underrated. I think him and Traore will split split the minutes about evenly at the five, and I think they'll both be very impactful. Um,
Yeah, and Mawat Meg, coming from Rutgers, very good defender there, athletic forward. Um, I
yes.
think he starts at the four probably, and I think he's a pretty underrated piece brought in as well.
Yes. Good freshman too. Obviously, Demean's like one of the higher regarded international guys, probably going to be a high pick in next NBA draft, can really pass the ball, really skilled, should be very good. barely left him off my all conference teams. Cannon Catching is getting a lot of hype too. Former Purdue commit. I also got a fielder freshman Elijah Crawford and Brody Kozlowski, both who I believe are playing this year. Not sure if either of them are Mormon or not. Um, Max Triplett, guy coming in from junior college, average 14 points there, top 60 guy. We'll see if he does anything at all, but I liked his team. Young has never coached in college, as we mentioned earlier, but I still think I mean, still think he's probably a pretty good basketball mind at least. And yeah,
Yeah, one of the higher paid assistants in the entire NBA. So obviously
yes.
well respected in the game of basketball. And yeah, just going back, I like the solid core they have returning, and then you've got a lot of like high upside pieces, Devin, Catchings, and then I think Megan Kata add a lot as well in the front court.
Yes. Definitely a team I continue to buy stock in every day. So yeah, I've been at ninth. Up next, Texas Tech finished 11-7 in conference play. I have them at sixth. Or no, I have them at seventh, right behind Cincinnati.
This is where I break up the top five. I've got Texas Tech sliding into fifth. I I think they're a bit disrespected, bit underrated heading into the season. Weren't ranked in the top 25. I mean, eight people I could care less for, I guess, but just shows kind of where the national media portrays the teams. I think this team's really underrated. I talked about it kind of during the transfers section. Elijah Hawkins in from Minnesota, very, very good floor general. JT Toppin from New Mexico, love him.
He was amazing as
Does
a
everything.
freshman. Yes.
Yeah,
Three stocks per game. Really a fish from inside. Yeah. Good on both ends. Even though he wasn't like necessarily number one option for New Mexico, I think he was probably their best player as a freshman last year. Um, Darian Williams back was really good last year down the stretch for Texas Tech. Chance McMillan, solid scorer. Elijah Hawkins is an elite distributor, one of the most fun passers in the country to watch. Federico, solid big man, I guess. Kevin Overton, another intriguing rising sophomore.
yeah. I like you've got Toppin, which is like your go-to guy in the paint, like good rebounder. Federico will just kind of be another rim protector. Toppin can do that as well. And then you've got Hawkins to dish out to all of these scorers on the wing. I really think it's a team built for success. Chance McMillan, Darian Williams, Devin Cambridge if he's healthy, Kerwin Walton, all those guys,
Yeah.
8 to 11 points a game
Walton
last
can
year.
really shoot it. I've been seeing Christian Anderson getting some hype as well. Should be a solid freshman.
And then more love for Drake, DeVries also in the conference, but Kevin Overton coming to Texas Tech, 3 years of eligibility. I think he's another guy at the 2 or the 3 spot to watch out for on this team.
Yes. A lot to like there. Grant McCausland is a phenomenal coach. One of my favorite coaches in the country. So I kind of like everything about his team. Probably have them top 25. Not quite in top tier, but I could
Yeah,
see them working their way up.
I like I said, I love the way this team fits. I think it's a team that might be a part of my preseason Final Four, just like the upside it has, and I think Grant McCasson has as good a chance of anybody to be the national coach of the year.
Yep. Next up is Baylor. I have the Bears at fourth in the conference.
Baylor's the team I sacrificed to slip Texas Tech into the top five. So I've got Baylor sixth, but still in my top 15 teams in the country. Like that, it just goes to show how loaded the top of this conference is.
Yeah. I think the main thing is the defense here. Their offense is going to be amazing. And like theoretically, I feel like they should be a good defensive team. But I also feel like last year they theoretically should have been a good defensive team and they weren't.
Yeah, for me, it's the defense and it's kind of like what happens in the front court because if you if you try to play Omir at the four to like shore up the defense better, I'm not like super big on Ojan Wuna, and it kind of like limits the amount of other scores you can have on the floor, which obviously they do have plenty of that. But then Omir at the five is kind of what burnt Miami all of last year, so that's where I like I'm hesitant on this team. I think there's more holes to poke than Texas Tech.
Yeah, I could get with that. Definitely gonna need a breakout from Ojinwuna. A guy that has showed some potential, but we'll need him to at least become a rim protector, not like block any shots last year, even though like theoretically he should be good at that. Nunn is a really good defender though. Does a little bit of everything. Edgecombe is gonna be amazing. Roach is really good ad. Jalen Celestine, I think, should be like a solid role player as well. Um, and Langston Love, we'll see how healthy he is coming back, but he should be another pretty impactful piece if he plays. Robert Wright should be someone who makes an impact. The defense is it should be like theoretically this team should be fine on defense. Nunn's an elite defender, but like I have to see it happen.
Yeah, that's where I'm skeptical. It should be a fun team to watch every time they're playing, but them against Gonzaga night one, 11:30 Eastern, that should be a game worth staying up for. I think it should be played in the 80s probably, maybe higher, but
Yes. Next up, though, Iowa State, 13-5 in conference play last year. I have the Cyclones at second this year as well.
yeah, I've got Iowa State in third, just swapping them in Kansas from your predictions.
Yes, I mean the defense is going to be elite once again. They have the returning backcourt. Mamshilovich also returning. Curtis Jones coming back. There's a lot to like about this team.
Yeah, and I mean Gilbert's been getting more love than Lipsy, I feel like this offseason, or at least like recently the hype's been building for him. So that's
I think Lipsy's
again something to
better,
keep an eye on.
but yeah, Gilbert could like really break out. We'll see. There's like a chance he like becomes a like All-American, I think.
Yeah, I do think that the upside's there for sure. The front court is where kind of everything changes. Trey King, Robert Jones, Hassan Ward, all out the door. So it's kind of what you want to buy in there with, or what you want to look for in this team. Like if they'll be able to match what they were last year. Joshua
Yes.
Jefferson from St. Mary's, Deshaun Jackson from Charlotte.
Yeah, I think they will though. Like I think with those two, Brandon Chatfield from Seattle, I think they will kind of match that, in my opinion. I mean, Jefferson's an
I
elite
think
defender. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing that they kind of will miss is Hassan Ward, like the athleticism there. I don't think Jefferson and Jackson are quite the same athlete.
Yeah.
So it depends how much you think that affected the defense. That's where I could see kind of a slight drop off. I don't know. There's a lot returning from a very good team last year, so it's hard for me to not see
Hmm.
this as like a bona fide top 10 team.
Yes. Hygies had a really good year at Northern Iowa. We'll see if they're getting anything out of younger guys. Demarion Watson was decent in spot minutes last year. Caden Fish, redshirt freshman, after taking a medical redshirt, entered the portal but came back. Nogus Indrusitis and JT Rock, two freshmen. Rock being a redshirt freshman. Two guys
I,
to maybe monitor.
yeah, I think Nate Heisey might actually be like somewhat important for this team, like another guard to mix in, maybe what Pavletsky should have been last year
Yeah, he was
as a mid-major
disappointing.
transfer. So I do think Heisey can be impactful off the bench. Another
For
guy that
sure.
can play both spots and
Yeah,
was
yes.
was very good for a solid Northern Iowa team.
Yeah, Heisey and Curtis Jones give Iowa State two really good options right off the bench. One that might end up starting, I guess. There's a few different things Iowa State could experiment with. Maybe start Msilovic at a four, move one
Yeah,
of those
I
guys
do think
in.
they like Milan at the three.
Yeah, I think I would rather have that too, but there's some experimentation that can be done here with a few of the guys. But yeah, the backcourt is elite. Everyone plays defense on the whole team, so it's gonna be another very good team in Ames. And then the final team, Houston, they finished first last year. I have them first again. It doesn't really matter who's on the roster. Like they're gonna play some defense. They're gonna get it done
Yeah.
offensively enough, I think, as well.
Yeah, I've got Houston number one in the conference, number one in the country. Jamal Shed, probably my favorite player in the country last year. His impact is massive, but I think basically everybody else coming back, they can all try to make up for what he lost. Milos Uzan can kind of calm the storm as a point guard, not as
Yeah.
dynamic as
I think
Shed
I
in
think yeah, he's
anyway,
definitely
but
not sure, but I think he'll break out a little bit. Cryer should become even more a number one option. Probably a big reason why you had him as your player of the year. Emmanuel Sharp, really solid offensive guy, and then got a front court guys that's gonna play really hard basketball and Juwan Roberts, Javier Francis, Terrence Arsenault. We'll see if he looks any decent coming off injury. Definitely a guy that has had some hype for some time. So if he's healthy, he should be pretty good. Um, Joseph Tugler, a guy that really another one knows front court guys just plays as hard as you can physically play. Malik Wilson, old guard off the bench, should fit in right to defense as well. We'll see if they get anything out of maybe Cedric Lott as another one of those guys. Maybe Mercy Miller cracks rotation as a freshman. We'll see though. I Kelvin Sampson is such a good coach.
yeah, I trust in Samson. I trust in all these guys coming back. Um, I I just feel like it's an obvious number one team in the country for me. Like Kelvin Sampson, Ken Palm, I think they've been a top two team the last 3 years running
Yes.
and
Like
top
the
five
floor is
for the
like a
last
three
four.
seed. The floor is like a three seed.
If that almost like I would almost go that far with this team. Like with how elite they are defensively, it's just hard for me to see them losing like back to back games at any point in the year, no matter
Yeah.
what the Big 12 schedule throws their way.
Mm-hmm. Jacob McFarland did recently get hurt. He broke his leg in practice. So yeah, he's not going to be available quite yet. So I guess we'll see. I mean, he didn't play last year. He's a redshirt freshman, but anyone who was hoping to see him right out the gates is not going to. But yeah, any more thoughts on Houston, the conference? It's going to be a really good conference yet again. Maybe the bottom is a little bit worse than the
Yeah,
SEC, but great top end has been really good as of lately.
I think the bottom is what could keep this team from or keep this conference from being the number one conference in the country. In case we witness a couple of those fall offs with UCF, Arizona State, very like I don't know, very wide range of directions those teams could go. Overall, though, I think it's a very good conference. Should send multiple teams to the Elite Eight. I think the two I would pick would be Houston and Texas Tech. Um, yeah, I'm all in on Texas Tech. The roster build, fantastic coach. I think it all comes together nicely, and that they'll be able to compete against top teams in the country all January and February and be primed for a run in March.
Yes. Yeah, gonna be very, very fun conference. Appreciate everyone for watching, tuning in. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, turn on post notifications so you don't miss any other content. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter/X at Hoopscoop Media. Follow Luke on Instagram at College Hoops Outlet, on Twitter/X at CHO Talk Sports, and we will see you for our next conference preview.